Welcome back to What Do They Know podcast. It's week 4 and the guys are breaking down what they've seen through the first quarter of the season. They'll give updated power rankings, overreactions, and Nick will try to keep it together as the guys record in the middle of the Jets' comeback attempt against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. But hey, what do they know?
What do they know? Well, we are about to find out what's going on, everybody. This is the week 4 edition of the What Do They Know podcast. My name is Nick Hoskins. I'm with my buddy Jeff Garcia.
Hello.
What's going on, man?
Oh, not much. Another week, another loss for the Saints, and a little depressed. But I got playoff baseball coming up, so
There you go.
at least something to look forward to this week.
Go Diamondbacks.
Go Diamondbacks. That's right.
All right, so I'm going to do my best here. Okay, I'm going to try and host this show and still watch the Jets game. They've made it competitive. As of right now, it's 17 to, was it 13, 12? 12, 17, 12. Midway through the second quarter. So
remember, it's an explicit free show.
Yeah,
remember?
this is a clean show. So we're going to need our production team to hit the mute button.
A lot of bleeps
If we have a production team, we got to find one.
We better find one.
All right.
Do it. Yep.
All right. So we are going to start out the week as we do. Oh my gosh, dude. CJ Mosley just dropped a pick, everybody. I'm sorry. I just dropped a pick. All right. Let's reel back in. We are going to start out with Jeff's random thought of the week.
Okay, I'll try to.
I think I also have one this week.
Oh, you got one this week.
I'll let you go.
Okay.
And then I'll share mine.
Okay. All right. So on my way over here, actually, there's a construction going on by the trainway.
Yep.
On the railroad. And I mean, that sort of thing kind of reminds me of rubbernecking. Like you're always looking at things along the side of the road and whatnot.
Yep.
I don't know how good you are with that. I used to be terrible.
Not great.
Yeah, I used to be terrible. Crashes, for me, the number one thing with rubbernecking is animals. If I see a dog or something on the side of the road, I'm looking.
Yep.
I'm looking 100% of the time.
Yep. Or a dead deer. Like I can't help but not look at it. I know it's gross, but like yeah.
That's that. Yeah, dead animals aren't really like I guess a common occurrence over in Arizona, but definitely around here in New York.
Oh yeah,
especially out here in upstate New York. But it's just one of those things where I know I've improved, and I was actually proud of myself for the improvement of car crashes and all that stuff. But for me, one thing I will never be able to get over is animals, pets, stuff like that. So yeah, that was my random thought of the week.
All right.
Let's see with yours.
So mine is actually sports related. It's sports gear etiquette.
Okay.
What is it? Okay. What is the etiquette behind? When are you supposed to wear? And here's why I say this. Anybody who knows me well. Oh, that's the incomplete pass. That's an incomplete pass for the challenge flag. Incomplete pass.
It's close.
And they didn't challenge it.
Nope.
Okay. Anybody who knows me knows that I am very, very anal about when I wear my sports gear, what sports gear you can wear and when. Like I'm super rigid when it comes to that. And so those of you that are watching on YouTube can see that I'm wearing my Aaron Rodgers jersey tonight.
Oh yeah.
And I almost returned this jersey. Like that's how I think I'm over the top. I think it's fair to say that I'm over the top, but like when he got injured that night, I was like, I'm done. I'm not wearing a jersey of a player who's injured, who's not playing anymore. Like I'm just not going to do it. And then I was like, you know what? He's there in the stadium tonight. They're wearing their retro jerseys. That's what this is. Like, I'm going to put it on. But I'm so hardcore. Like, if it's out of season, like, I won't. My Yankees gear is officially done because baseball season is done.
That's why I have this jersey on right now. Like,
football season, I don't wear. Or out of football season, I don't wear any Jets gear.
Right.
So I guess, and maybe this is rhetorical. Maybe there's no right answer. But like, is there a guideline to when and what gear you can wear? Also, a pet peeve of mine. If they don't play for them anymore, don't wear their jersey. Unless it's like a Hall of Fame, prestigious player. But if it's like Joe Schmo who played with them last year and you just still have their jersey, like don't wear it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being too much hardcore, but like I would be very curious to see if anybody else has any sort of fan gear etiquette on what they wear and when.
I feel like we can have a back and forth on this all day.
Yeah.
Like for me, personally, I'd probably start with baseball spring training. That's where I would start.
Agree 100%.
Busting that out. Football.
Preseason. For me, August.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess there's an argument to be made for like training camp or something, which is just a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah, like OTAs and things like that, rookie camp, stuff like that.
But yeah, preseason is probably where that's going to come out. Hockey, I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing preseason. But that's my personal opinion. Yeah, I don't. As soon as baseball is done, this is going back in the closet for a while.
Yep.
So,
and like we used to go to D-backs games all the time in Phoenix, right? And if they're not playing the Yankees, I'm not wearing my Yankee stuff.
No, they're not.
It drives me crazy when let's just say it's the Dodgers and the D-backs, and you got a guy wearing Cubs jersey or a Pirates jersey. Like the team, it makes no sense for him to be wearing that gear. It drives me up a wall, and I know it's probably a me thing, but it's like I don't know. I don't know why.
No, I don't think I'm like as been over it as you, but it is a thing with me too. Like you do realize they're not playing here. Right. You realize you're at the wrong venue.
Right.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. It's just one of those things where I'm not sure. Maybe they were invited by a friend and they're just not a fan of either team, so they're just there for a night out or whatever.
Yeah.
But wear something else. Wear casual clothing or something.
Exactly.
Yep. I agree with you.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of came to me tonight when I was debating whether or not I was going to wear this jersey. I thought that would be an interesting conversation. But
I mean, Rogers' presence is pretty big, especially on the mentality of this team this year. So
even though he surprised them, they didn't know he was going to be there. They said really? He only told Robert Saleh, and then he showed up last night.
Nice.
So that probably had to do something. Zach Wilson, for what it's worth, looks actually like an NFL quarterback.
Oh yeah.
So far in this game. So that's encouraging. But all right, enough about the Jets, unless something good happens or bad.
Right.
We will jump into what has happened so far in week 4. We'll go over our top stories. We each have a few that jumped out to us this week. So go ahead with yours so far.
Okay. Well, we'll start off with the Broncos and Bears game. I know that wasn't very built up.
On ESPN radio this week, they're referring to that as the toilet bowl game.
See, I'm not with the Bears, yes, because they just looked that awful, and it took, I guess, a bad opponent to really shine their offense back to what I thought it was going to be, like on a common occurrence.
Yeah.
But against the Broncos and that Broncos team, give credit to them. They got pounded last week, 70 points, obviously. So this week they were down 21 points, 28-7, and they could have easily rolled over, threw in the towel, gave up on all hope. But they came back. They let Russell Wilson cook. So props to them. They got to Justin Fields at the end of the game. They got an interception to seal it. And credit to the Broncos. I mean, they're still fighting, and I'm not sure what that mentality of that game is, but I'm sure there's some sort of pride issue going on there.
Absolutely.
So it's just one of those things where you come out and you're like, all right, enough is enough. And for the Bears, I don't know even where they turn now. They're I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's Justin Fields at this point. There's just so many issues with that team that you can't pinpoint it right now. And to let that one slip through their fingers, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was my number one story from that one.
Okay.
Number 2, I got the Lions. It's reference to the Thursday night game.
Yep.
I think it's their division now to lose.
Oh, for sure. No doubt.
They manhandled the Packers, which I think is going to be the second best team in that division.
I watched a good amount of that game. Mm-hmm. They dominated on both lines, offensive line and defensive line. Yep. They just dominate. The big boys just dominated that game.
Yep. Hutchinson's making himself a household name.
Yep.
Making plays that he's been making throughout the first 4 weeks of this season. So the Lions, to me, they look legit. They look like they're going to, I don't want to say run away with that division, but
they could. They could.
It's going to be a pretty.
It's not the Bears. It's not the Vikings. It's only going to be the Packers. It's only going to be the Packers. Yeah. It's their only competition.
Yep. So I feel like they're going to win the division handily. But say like 3 or more games over the Packers. I don't see that happening, but I think they're going to have like a 2-3 game cushion over the Packers at the end of the year. And then my last top story is the Vikings. Since they won, do they become sellers, or are they still going in for this season? I know Justin Jefferson is tired of hearing the questions about selling. So it becomes one of those things. If you win, how do you explain it to your fan base type of thing of, well, we're going to sell anyway.
Right.
We're going to trade away Kirk Cousins. And
I don't know how, as much as I would love for them to sell specifically to the Jets.
Yep.
I don't know how you do that when you have a guy like Justin Jefferson. Like you have to, it's almost like you're forced to put a team around him because you're wasting his talent and his rookie deal.
It's kind of how like the Rams we discussed back when our NFC West preview, they have Cooper Kupp and they have Aaron Donald and they have Matthew Stafford. You have these guys that are veterans and they produce. They produce.
Yep.
So you can never really go on a full-fledged rebuild because of these players that you can't waste their years that they're already serving you there for. So it's going to be one of those things. You have Justin Jefferson. If you try to rebuild, all of a sudden he's not going to be on his rookie contract anymore. So you're going to have to pay that man
right
by the time you're ready to compete once more. So yeah, it's going to be a tough decision for the Vikings.
Yep.
So that's my three.
Yours. All right.
Yep.
So I didn't write this one down because I had done this before I saw it.
Okay.
But you all, if you listen to this show, you guys should know where I'm going to start. And that's with freaking Brandon Staley. I'm so done with that guy.
The weekly rant of Brandon Staley.
He did it again. He did the exact same thing that we talked about. We were watching the game, and I almost spit out my dinner.
Yeah, I was in the kitchen. And
they were up by a touchdown. 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. They're on their own 25, and he goes for it on 4th and 1 with another sneak, and they didn't get it.
Right.
And the only reason they won the game is because a rookie quarterback threw a bad interception, and the defense bailed him out. I saw a tweet, Trey Wingo, I'll give him credit because I know he said it. His tweet after that was, okay, now Brendan Staley is directly trying to get fired.
Right.
And that's what it looks like. Like when you make, like, what are you doing?
Right.
I can't stress this enough. If I was a Chargers fan, I would have blown a gasket today.
At this point, it's just common.
It's like, what?
It's the weekly.
At what point do one of your coaches pull you aside and be like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like you gotta do something different.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it last week when they did that. Like, you have to think about the position of the field that you're in. Last week they were they're 24 inside the 25.
It was almost the identical situation.
And now they're like 30.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only difference was last week they gave it to their fullback. This time they tried the actual tush push that they do in Philadelphia. That Philadelphia was made.
It's the only time I've seen it not work. By the way.
Yep. Leave it to the Chargers to not make that work. But yeah, I mean, he went with a different play call, but at the same time, once again, you have to look at where you're at and how many points you're up. It's a one possession game. You can't put your defense in that sort of position. I
just don't get it.
I get that you have confidence in your offense, but at the same time, you got to have some confidence in your defense to hold the Raiders with the rookie quarterback, and make them drive the entirety of the field rather than 30 yards. So again, Brandon Staley, give your team the best chance to win.
Yeah, and he's not doing it.
Yeah,
they're winning again. They're winning in spite of him.
Right. So, yep, I agree.
All right. So I thought that there were some teams exposed this week as potential. I feel like now we're to the point where you might be able to say these teams are pretenders instead of contenders.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to do this to you, Jeff. Because I picked them to win the division, same as you. The 3 that I wrote down are the Saints, the Bengals, and the Steelers.
Okay.
They all had really bad losses today. Derek Carr did play for the Saints, and they still lost the game.
Right.
Oh my gosh, did he just catch that ball?
He caught that. Short, but he caught it.
Garrett Wilson has some of the best hands in the league. They shouldn't have lost to the Bucs, even though I picked them as the Bucs as my lock last week. That was assuming that Derek Carr was going to be out.
Right.
That's just a stupid catch. The Bengals they just didn't show up today. They scored 3 points
again
to the Titans.
Yeah,
against the Titans. Who? Okay, what's happening here?
I think they're going for it.
Try and draw them off.
Maybe
they need points. They need points.
They're at 34.
What are they doing? Don't hike the ball. Don't hike the ball. Call timeout.
Oh, yeah, he called it.
Okay, field goal.
Sorry for that pause.
Sorry, guys.
Yep.
Told you I was gonna. I can't not. I'm sorry.
I kind of have to be in the game because I like to see the games. And
so the Bengals horrible loss to the Titans. They're now 1-3.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow. I don't care what anybody says. Joe Burrow cannot be right. He cannot be healthy.
No.
And then the Steelers. The Steelers lost again. Who'd they play today? They played
Steelers. They played the Texans.
They played the Texans, who I think we need to start giving the Texans a little bit more credit. But yeah, you're doing that. You're on the Texans. You're on the Texans bandwagon,
on the bandwagon already. Right
now. Yep. And so I think that the Steelers, they won last week against Vegas. But I mean, they just don't look right. offensively.
Yeah.
I saw a funny tweet today, and I even talked about it in doing our breakdowns, how good Kenny Pickett looked in the preseason.
Right.
Mike Greenberg of ESPN, he's on Get Up. He's, really famous. He missed it.
Doink.
Nope, he missed it. Unbelievable.
Go ahead, Mike Greenberg.
Production team.
Can we sub him this man?
He said, if you ever hear me putting stock in the preseason ever again, just say the 2 words Kenny Pickett. And I thought that was hilarious because I talked about it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how amazing he looked in the preseason, and he's looked anything but.
Right.
So those 3 teams specifically, I feel like we can now start to really say like they potentially are pretenders.
Right.
Yeah.
Like for me, preseason, I guess, is just more of a timing thing. I wouldn't put too much stock into it anymore because you're not going up against, I guess, full effort, full blown first team versus first team. You're getting a look at guys in different positions and just schematically what you're going to do for the first week of the year, and then from there on, you game plan week by week. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just reps is what the preseason is. And Kenny Pickett, I mean, you're right, he did look very good. He looked like he had a repertoire with his receivers, and he had a flow going. But I guess against number 1 defenses, it's just not clicking.
Yeah.
Or he's just not, I guess, comfortable enough to make the throws and has the confidence to deliver the throws that he was making during the preseason. In terms of the Bengals, this is week 4. Their offense has looked terrible every single week. Yep.
Non-existent.
And then, I mean, well, I'll do the 2 teams, the Saints and Bengals. Their offense has just been looking pathetic, for lack of a better word. And that's coming from a fan because I feel like I'm allowed to call that.
I was going to ask you this. I was going to do a whole segment on it, but you watch all the Saints games. Like what's going on? What is it? Because I'm very surprised.
Right. So to me, I know in a lot of threads, especially with Saints threads, they want Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael Jr., which is the offensive coordinator, gone. For me, it's just Pete Carmichael. He's the offensive coordinator. He's the one who's setting all these guys up schematically where they're going to supposed to succeed at. I mean, you got Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, a healthy Michael Thomas at that, as your wideouts. You got Rashid Shaheed in your slot.
Kamara came back today.
And I mean, you said it earlier. You had 14 receptions for 30 yards.
13 receptions for 33 yards.
Yeah.
It was.
That's just not putting
that's just check downs. That's all that is.
That's ridiculous to me. And to me, that's just comes down to what you're doing as a scheme offensively. Derek Carr, I do have some bones to pick with him because I feel like he's making terrible reads.
Let's go.
He underthrew that again. Way to go. But the Saints, it's just one of those things where they're gonna have to figure it out. For me, it's gonna be an interesting week. I wonder if they're gonna do anything coaching wise, personnel wise, in regards to firing or just handing somebody else the offensive
play calling.
Yeah, the play calling. Because right now Pete Carmichael's came from the Sean Payton tree, but during the entire tenure of Sean Payton being with the Saints, Pete Carmichael never really called the plays during the entire time. It was always Sean Payton. So it's just one of those things where
that's the whole
we're starting to see.
That's the whole Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid conversation.
Yeah,
right. Where nobody was giving Bieniemy credit because
it was Andy Reid.
Because it was Andy Reid.
Yeah, but at this point, you can kind of say with confidence that you understand why it wasn't Pete Carmichael during any time Sean Payton was there. So to me, it's just a scheme issue at this point. Derek Carr, trust me, he's not doing himself any favors because he's making some bad reads. He's trying to force it to Olave and some players downfield, and it's just not hitting. It's not clicking at all. So yeah, top story number 1 for you.
And then I have 2. One I'll just summarize really quick. The AFC South is up for grabs. Every team in that division is 2-2. Every team in that division is more competitive than we expected.
Right.
The Texans and Colts specifically. The Jags actually are maybe not playing as well as we thought, and then the Titans. The Titans, I think, are just kind of there. I don't really expect them to be there at the end of the season, but right now, the AFC South is up for grabs. Anybody can take that division. And then the Bills, I think, are the top story. They're the top story of the week for me because I will be the first to say that I expected the Dolphins to win that game and win it soundly.
Right.
I obviously, everybody knows I'm super high on the Dolphins. I will say that I almost feel like that the best thing that could have happened to the Bills was the week 1 loss.
A slap to reality.
I really kind of think that it was specifically for Josh Allen. I don't think he's had a turnover since that game. And he looked phenomenal today.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, who knows? They could look back at the end of the season. Obviously, they're your Super Bowl pick. They could look back and say, "Man, that was exactly what we needed." Even though at the time everybody was saying what a horrible loss it was, and that they peaked and everything else. And I think that who knows? It's a long season. It's only a quarter of the way through, but that could be the punch that they needed to start the season.
Yeah, I was on like a Fire McDermott tirade after that game because it was like you have like no excuse to really lose that game. But Josh Allen, he put it on him. He didn't put it on anybody else, and he's turned it on to MVP mode ever since then. So credit to Josh Allen for carrying that team. And one of the issues I had with the Bills was their limited weapons, and to me, they're showing that it doesn't matter. Stephon Diggs is balling out. Yeah. Hardcore. So.
Yep. All right. So we're going to move over to our prisoner of the moment or potential overreactions, or maybe they're not. So I'll let you go first.
Well, this is the overreaction segment, but I need you to, like last week, I need you to say this is not an overreaction.
Okay. Fair.
The Saints need to fire their offensive coordinator.
I don't think that's an overreaction.
Okay.
I don't think that's an overreaction because we already talked about it, right? Yep. We just explained why they should be more firing on more cylinders offensively.
Right.
And oh my gosh, hold on.
That's a sack.
All right, halftime.
Yep.
All right, halftime, 20 to 12. Jets get the ball, start the third.
Competitive.
It's more competitive than it looked like it was going to be at 17-0.
Right.
So,
way to go.
Yeah. So
we'll try to get this show through before the third
but
quarter.
No, I do not think that that's an overreaction. I think that they need to be playing better offensively.
Oh, absolutely. They have too much skill to be being held below 20 points every game. I think they're the only NFC team to not score 20 points.
That's crazy.
This year. Crazy. So, yep. Then my second one is the Dolphins defense will hold them back come playoff time.
That's tough.
So, obviously they let up 48 today to the Bills.
Yep.
Those are the sort of offenses you're going to run into. KC, Jacksonville if they get going in the playoffs. So that defense is going to have to.
Here's why. So I'm going to say that's an overreaction.
Okay.
Because by then Jalen Ramsey will be back.
December.
And so who knows what that looks like defensively for them? That could change the whole complexion of. You see what a shutdown corner can do. Who knows what that looks like? So for right now, I'm going to say that's an overreaction.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. So my first one, you're not going to enjoy this.
Okay.
Tampa Bay is now the favorites of the NFC South.
Okay. I wouldn't say that's an overreaction at all. I look at the other teams in that division. Panthers are 0-4. Falcons, that they need to let Desmond Ridder do something because right now they're just relying on Bijan. So, they can only get you so far. And then the Saints, if they don't find something offensively, that defense is going to get worn down and they're going to start giving up points. This is the first time in like 11 games that they let up more than 20 points, that defense.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be one of those things where the defense isn't going to keep you in games for long if your offense can't sustain drives.
So, as a Jet fan, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yes, I know you would know.
The frustrations of that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not fun. So my second one, and this one, I actually am super curious to hear your thoughts. I think this could be a topic in the national media this week. I really do.
Okay.
Excuse me. Cincinnati should save Joe Burrow from himself and bench him until he's healthy.
Ooh. Okay.
Because, and all the reasons that we already talked about with Cincinnati, he's just not right. There's no reason that a healthy Joe Burrow puts up 3 points in a game.
Right. Yeah. I think I'll agree with you. Like right now, he's just not being Joe Burrow-esque, I suppose. It's just one of those things where until your defense and your offense can start clicking in some sort of way. I know Ja'Marr Chase went on a little bit of a tirade today. He's always open.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was like, I'm always open.
Told you, man.
Receivers, divas.
They're divas.
Yep. But it's just one of those things where, Joe Burrow is. See, I haven't seen enough of the Bengals game to see if it's reads. I
haven't either.
If it's his arm, if it's legs, I don't know. I'd have to. I'll probably take a look next week, a Bengals game, see what sort of things Joe Burrow is doing. But yeah, I mean, who do they have as their backup right now?
Couldn't even tell you. I know they had Trevor Siemian until the Jets signed him, but he was on the practice squad. I don't know who their backup is.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, let's see, they're 1-3 now.
Stand by.
Yeah. Let's see, they're 1-3 now. Ravens are leading that division 3-1.
Yep.
Cleveland's 2-2. I mean, at this point, you got two teams that are probably better than you at this right now: Cleveland and Baltimore.
Jake Browning.
Don't know.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Nope. Never heard of him. He's the backup.
He's the backup.
For what it's worth.
Okay.
But I think that's an intriguing conversation.
Yeah. Obviously, they won't do that.
No, they won't.
They won't pull the trigger. Obviously, it's early in the season. They think they still have the chance to make the playoffs, win a division and whatnot. But right now, you got Baltimore playing pretty hot. Cleveland has a defense that's going to keep them. Yep, that's going to keep them in every game.
Don't pay attention to the points they gave up today.
Yeah, today's a watch.
I watched a good majority of that game, and the backup for Deshaun Watson, Cleveland's quarterback, was just dreadful today. He made throws where you would have thought that his arm got hit or something, and no, he just there was one he just flat lost a grip on the ball and throw it 30 yards right to a defender. I mean, he looked horrible today. So don't pay attention to that. Cleveland has a really good defense.
Right. Yeah, putting your defense in bad positions is always a recipe for disaster, regardless of how good your defense is. So for me, Cleveland is going to be there until the very end. Them and Baltimore is going to be a two horse race. But unless Joe Burrow and that offense gets clicking for the Bengals, I don't even see them making the playoffs at this rate.
No, I don't either. I think that's starting to be in serious question.
All right.
All right, so those are our potential overreactions. We're going to do a quick first 4-week recap. So it's about quarter of the season. Back to our What Do They Know segment that we did on week 1. Some of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the season that either we got way wrong or looks like as of right now, maybe we've gotten it right. So I'll let you go first.
Okay. So first one, since we just talked about the Browns defense, I was very high on the Browns defense.
You were spot on with that.
I was Jim Schwartz I'm a big Jim Schwartz fan. So as soon as I saw that connection there, I was all on board with Cleveland. I still have them winning the division. I think Deshaun Watson showed a lot more promise last week. Obviously this week he was injured. So they have a bye next week, so he'll get healthy. Myles Garrett, I heard he was in a walking boot today. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, I heard that, but he said he'll be good to go after the bye week. So that's to remain to be seen, but that's going to be a huge loss if they can't keep Myles Garrett healthy. But for now, that Browns defense is very competitive and very fearsome, in my opinion. So that's one thing I got right. And then the Vikings defense being on the opposite end.
Yeah, you were right about that too.
So I know you had them winning the division.
I'll tell you right now, that's one of the things I got totally wrong was the Vikings.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that defense just not having the talent to kind of keep up. I know their offense can score with the best of them right now, especially with that Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins connection. But that defense not being up to standard is really going to hold them back. And I think they were 0-5 since being 11-0 in one possession games now. So it's going to be one of those things where, they won one tonight, but it's against the Panthers. It was an 0-3 matchup.
Yeah.
So
toilet bowl,
another toilet bowl in the. But yeah, it's just going to be one of those things where Vikings got I assume wait another year for that defense to pick back up.
Yep.
In terms of wrong, you want me to go with the wrongs?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, with the wrongs, Jacksonville and Chicago offenses, especially Chicago's.
Yeah.
Obviously, I thought Justin Fields was going to light the world on fire this year. Maybe not MVP numbers, but pretty top 5.
A lot of people were saying that.
Yeah, definitely top 5, top 3. It's just one of those things where it's just not. I don't know what's going on with Chicago.
I mean, he did throw for 4 touchdowns today, so maybe
it's just one of those things. But it's Denver, and you look at how Denver's react. I know they came back and won when we talked about that a little bit earlier, but at the same time, that Denver defense is just not playing at a competitive level, especially after giving up so many points at Miami. You can't take them completely seriously, right. I suppose.
Yeah.
For NFL standards. So Chicago's offense, we'll see if they can. This can be a stepping stone for better things. But coming off a loss, I wouldn't be surprised if they regress again next week.
Yep.
And then Jacksonville, they have too many weapons there, but. it's gonna be a Trevor Lawrence thing. It revolves around him. ATN obviously gets his fair share of touches, but I don't really see them having a run game, to be honest with you.
I don't think he gets enough.
Really,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him today, and they have some good runs here and there, but nothing really stood out in terms of explosiveness or anything. So I think ATN's more of that third down back. I'm not sure if he's a workhorse type of thing. But Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk had a lot of targets and a lot of receptions today. So we'll see if they can spread the ball around more, because right now it's looking like they're just focusing on one receiver each week. And I'm not sure if that's the formula for success for Jacksonville. And then the other thing I got wrong was the Dolphins' offensive, potential. As we know,
I mean, I don't think either of us saw this coming.
Right. We know you were a lot higher on them than I was. For me, I would question their health, especially with Tua.
Yeah, you didn't even pick them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, nope. I honestly thought it was going to be a carryover from the second half of last year Dolphins rather than the first half. I know it was definitely two different Dolphin teams that we saw last year, and that all came down to health.
Yep.
So to me, it was just one of those things where if they were going to be healthy enough, obviously week 4, still early, but right now I didn't see this offensive explosion that comes as violently as it has. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and their running backs Mostert and Achane or a Kane or however you want to say.
Yeah, I don't even know.
So explosive offensive. So I was wrong on that.
Okay.
Yep.
So the two things that I got right so far, two teams looks like I got right so far, are the Ravens. They're 3-1 in their division.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they're gonna, potentially continue to go in the right direction. Obviously, health is a big part of their team and will be for the rest of the year. And then the Bucks. You and I had a pretty lengthy debate on the Bucks and where I thought they stood. I had them finishing second in the division, and said that I thought that Baker could have a really good comeback year, and potentially have a really good connection with Mike Evans. All of that has come to fruition so far. Obviously, Mike Evans left today injured, but Baker has looked good. They're 3-1. Their only loss is to the Eagles, who are undefeated.
Right.
They're number 1 in the NFC South right now, so that looks like that's going to be a promising something that I may have gotten correct.
Right.
All right, we are going to transition over to power rankings. So just to recap, we'll go through our 1 through 5 best teams, and we'll call out any changes that we had from last week. So I'll let you go first.
All right. Number 1, 49ers, holding steady.
Which makes more sense this week than it did last week.
Right, absolutely.
With the Dolphins.
Yep, from that whole...
The Dolphins actually lost this week.
Yep, you wanted to slap me across the face when I didn't have the Dolphins at number 1 last week after putting 70, but this whole Dolphins and Bills game kind of fortified my argument that you need defense and offense to win games in this league. So
for sure did.
49ers holding the top spot because they have both, and they proved that again with the win against the Arizona Cardinals. Number 2, Bills jump up. They replaced the Dolphins there, so I think it's only right you replace the team that you beat, type of thing, and they're going in hot. Their offense is looking pretty deadly, and their defense is holding really, really well, especially against that offense against Miami. And then number 3, I got the Eagles. I know they looked a little suspect today against the Commanders, especially that defense looked a little leaky, giving up 30 plus points against Sam Howell after they only scored 3 last week against Buffalo. So I mean, it's a division game. Anything can happen during a division game. Yep. So I'll give that a wash. Number 4, I got the Dolphins going down to number 4. Obviously, you're not going to run into this Buffalo Bills defense every week, especially that high caliber type of defense. So at this point, I see the Dolphins, as long as they remain healthy, they're going to put up some points, and they're going to win a lot of games that way. Number 5, I got the Chiefs. I mean, as of right now, it's 2020 Jets and Chiefs. So if they lose, obviously they drop out, and I'd probably put the Lions there. But Chiefs right now have too much offensive potential. And their defense, I'm a little questionable about their defense, but I guess they can be stingy at times. But as of right now, I got them at 5.
Okay. So same 5 teams, right? Nothing.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Same 5.
Yeah. So nothing. We didn't add or remove anybody, and I did the same thing this week. So number 1, I moved the 49ers up. I took the Dolphins out of the top spot. Like you said, they lost. Bills number 2.
Okay.
I have the Dolphins 3.
Okay.
I still think way too highly of the Dolphins to have them 4 or 5. So Chiefs 4, Eagles 5.
Okay.
The Eagles dropped for me this week just because I contemplated taking them out of my top 5 with a win, but I just feel like you can't do that.
Right, that's rough.
They're still sitting at number 5, but they have to play better. Like they have to, and I shouldn't say that, they have to look better. Right. They're not beating the eye test right now for me. I just think they're just not quite jiving.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I dived into a little bit on divisional breakdowns with the Eagles. They had a few new linebackers starting for them, so it creates kind of a, I guess, unknown going into the year how your defense is going to shape out, and I think it kind of proved today. And throughout the course of the year, they haven't looked especially overwhelming defensively. Offensively, they've had their spurts, especially today. But defensively, I think that's going to be their real challenge of overcoming this year.
Yep. All right. So those are our rankings. Again, we'll change them, update them next week as we see fit.
Right.
We'll go into our fantasy studs and duds. We're going to change it up this week. Instead of us both doing studs and duds, Jeff's going to take the studs, and I'll do the duds.
I'm in charge of the studs.
So go ahead.
All right. So number 1, I got Josh Allen. Josh Allen just balled out today. He
sure did.
He's been on a tear the past 3 weeks. So like I said earlier, he's put on MVP performances since that week 1 loss against the Jets. So Josh Allen putting up points. And then number 2, Anthony Richardson out of Indy. He's looking more and more like a clear cut QB1.
Also,
franchise player. Yep.
He's looking like a guaranteed anytime touchdown scorer.
Oh yeah.
If you're a gambling person.
Yep. He rushes the ball.
Yep.
He throws the ball. He's got Michael Pittman Jr. over there. And that Colts team is a lot stingier and a lot more surprising to me that they're 2-2.
100%.
So kudos to Steichen over there in Indy. But yeah, Anthony Richardson is putting up points over there in Indy.
Yep.
In terms of running backs, I got McCaffrey and David Montgomery. McCaffrey got 3 touchdowns? Four touchdowns? You got 3 rushing and 1 receiving, I believe.
Yeah.
David Montgomery had the 3 on Thursday night.
Yep.
I was surprised by David Montgomery. Obviously, I don't know what to make of it because they still have Gibbs there, and I think we both can agree that Gibbs is the better, running back. But
I think he's more explosive, but right now Montgomery is clearly the workhorse. He had over 30 rushes on
32
Thursday.
attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where he's carrying over what he had over in Chicago with Khalil Herbert and splitting carries and whatnot, but he does enough or more than enough to warrant all the rushing attempts that he gets, and he balled out this week. Wide receivers, I got A.J. Brown. He'll be happy this week.
Yep.
Won't pout or anything this week.
Sideline arguments this week.
Yeah, basically. So all good there in Philadelphia for him. Stephon Diggs, he caught 3 touchdowns, I believe, today from Josh Allen.
Sure did.
And then Nico Collins. This is probably going to be a trend in Houston.
I think so.
C.J. Stroud is, once again, like Anthony Richardson, is looking like the real deal over there in Houston. But it's just going to be one of those things where you wonder who's going to be the number 1 wide receiver there. Whether it's going to be Nico Collins or it's going to be Tank Dell there in Houston. And tight end, I got Cole Kmet, if that's how you say it.
Yep.
They're in Chicago. He finally got his due. He has so much potential. I just feel like Justin Fields kind of overlooks him sometimes. I don't know if that's because he doesn't want to look towards his tight end or if he's just not confident throwing it to him. I don't know what's going on there, but Cole Kmet came up with 2 touchdowns, and I had him last year in fantasy, and he was serviceable.
He produced,
but it was just one of those things where he has these types of games in him. So if you're going to ride with Cole Kmet, I think you should ride it with him throughout the year. Then defense, I got the Cowboys. They put
once
up
again.
Yep. Cowboys coming up. I guess they kind of woke up from last week with that surprising Cardinals loss.
Yep.
Obviously, that Trayvon Diggs injury was big, but they adjusted today and they made the Patriots bench Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So
they had two defensive touchdowns, a couple interceptions, a couple fumbles.
Yep. So Cowboys once again putting up points. So those are my studs for the week.
Okay. So duds, you just talked about one at quarterback, Mac Jones. He had a whopping 0.7 points this week.
Nice.
So shout out to you. If you had him on your team, you probably lost. Joe Burrow, we've already talked about 4.7 points. The Bengals as a whole only scored 3. So, he's not going to put up big numbers. I don't know what's going on there.
Right, and that's such a disappointment because of where Joe Burrow was I guess, drafted.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely losing a lot of value.
Right. Oh yeah, no doubt. Running backs. Aaron Jones only 2.4 points. Obviously, he's coming off injury. He hadn't played, so there might be something there. Get him. Holding maybe.
Yep,
that's coming back. Kill him.
Ooh, I feel like he could have.
Hopefully that's holding.
Right.
Aaron Jones coming off an injury, 2.4 points. Raheem Mostert, he had 1 million touchdowns last week and 1 million yards, and then he only had 5.5 points this week. He had 2 fumbles. One was lost, one was recovered.
Okay.
So maybe that had something to do with it.
Chain kind of like took over the running back. He only had 8 rush attempts, but he had over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. I'm curious as to see if he's going to take that workhorse responsibility.
Certainly looks like it.
Yep.
Wide receivers, Chris Olave and Deebo Samuel, both on my fantasy team.
The same team?
On the same team. So I lost in that league. Chris Olave had 1.4 and Deebo Samuel had 0.6 points.
Ooh.
Both of those guys, I can't really complain. They've been studs the first couple weeks, so they're allowed to have a bad week, I guess. Tight end, Kittle, 1.9 points. So it seems like the only person on San Francisco that produced was Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, it was McCaffrey. Sure.
And Brandon Ayuk, he had a couple good catches as well. And Gerald Everett, 2.9 points for the Chargers, which this one surprises me because you would think that with the injury to Mike Williams, who, he tore his ACL, lost for the season.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like a natural fit to be like the guy that steps up, Gerald Everett, because he's put up big numbers in the past, and all season we've talked about it. He just hasn't produced so far this year. So,
and Josh Palmer only had like 3 receptions this year, so he would have thought that those targets
again, it was mostly all Keenan Allen this week, for them.
Yep.
And then defense, Miami -6 points for their defense. So. Again, if you had Miami's defense, congratulations. You probably lost.
I don't know why you would have Miami's defense, but if you did, power to you.
All right, so those are our studs and duds. We will wrap up this episode as we do every week by doing our picks for next week. We're going to do a lock and then an upset. So a look at the standings partially because Jeff's last pick is still outstanding as of right now.
Right.
Last week I was 1-1. I picked... I don't even remember.
You got the Bucks over the Saints.
I picked the Bucks over the Saints as my lock.
Right.
And I took a complete shot in the dark with the Cardinals over the Niners.
That's right, you did.
That didn't pan out.
No, it did not.
So I was 1-1 last week. I'm 4-4 total. So pretty consistent there.
We're at 500.
You have one pick correct.
Texans.
The Texans over the Steelers as your upset.
Yep.
And then your lock is obviously playing right now with Kansas City, who looks anything but right now.
Right.
I'm trying to keep it together, but I'm a nervous wreck.
Yeah, I can tell.
So we'll see. We got to wrap this stuff up. So we got to wrap this stuff up, Jeff.
Focus on the real important things.
So we'll give the official standings next week because hopefully we won't have any games that are pending.
Right.
But let's just say that I'm leading.
Okay.
So go ahead with your picks for next week.
Okay, so I'm rolling with the Texans again. I'm rolling on. So double it with the Texans over the Falcons. Somehow the Falcons are 2.5-point favorites.
I don't get that at all.
So I don't understand it either.
I don't get that at all.
So I'm rolling with the Texans on that one. Write me up all day with that one.
Okay.
So and then my lock, Lions over the Panthers. Panthers are winless.
See, anytime I want to pick somebody who's facing a winless team, it always makes me so nervous because they got to win at some point.
Yeah,
they got to win at some point.
Yeah, I just don't see it this week. I mean, the Lions are in the potential division winners there. Yep. I don't see them losing to a winless team.
My lock is the Colts over the Titans. I'm high on the Colts, and I am not high on the Titans.
You're rolling with the Colts. Okay.
Makes sense to me. Oh. And my upset is the Saints over the Pats. Pats are 1.5-point favorites.
Okay.
I don't see that. Go Brees. Go Brees. Go Brees. Oh. Go Brees. Hold on to that ball, Brees. All right. That was a huge run.
He's eating.
That was about a 60-yard run, folks.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
We can get this going.
All right, Colts over the Titans and Saints over the Pats. Okay. Pats are 1.5-point favorites.
Yep.
So the Saints are reeling, but I think that they'll beat the Pats.
Okay.
So we'll see. Okay. So that's our show for the week.
Perfect.
We got a really good game happening here, folks. So
absolutely.
we're gonna wrap this up. I can't even believe that this is even a game. To be totally honest with you,
I'm right there with you.
It is what it is. So we hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you were able to stand through my outbursts. Let's see what's happening here. We got a screen pass, CJ. CJ Uzama.
There we go.
Down to the 20-25 flag. It's coming back.
Oh.
All right. We're out of here, folks. We hope you enjoyed the week, and we will catch you next week.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to What Did They Know podcast. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media outlets to see future episode details. And don't forget to send in any questions or topics that you want to see the guys discuss in their weekly episodes to come.